February 2022, 12 years after the Gilgo 4 were discovered. A new task force is formed, Suffolk County Police, the DA's office, the FBI, working together under fresh leadership with access to everything the original investigation had collected. 6 weeks later, they had a name. 6 weeks. The original investigation had run for over a decade without one. A new team, with new eyes, new technology, and new determination, cracked it in 6 weeks. The question is, how? Everything they needed had been sitting in the original case files. It just hadn't been assembled into a single picture. Start with Amber's roommate, Dave Schaller. He told police in 2010 about the client who had been so relentless the night Amber disappeared. A big man. Ogre-like, he said. Driving a first-generation Chevrolet Avalanche, a truck with a distinctive, boxy profile that was only produced between 2002 and 2006. Then look at the phone records. Before each of the 4 women disappeared, they had been in contact with someone using prepaid burner phones, anonymous, cash-purchased, untraceable in the normal sense, but not completely untraceable, because burner phones still ping cell towers. And when investigators mapped where those burner phones were being used when they contacted the victims, the signals clustered inside a very specific area. A few blocks in Massapequa Park, Long Island. They called it the box. 1 killer, 1 neighborhood, a radius of just a few city blocks. The new task force cross-referenced the box with vehicle ownership records. They were looking for a large, imposing man who owned or had owned a first-generation Chevrolet Avalanche and lived inside that small cluster of streets. Rex Hoyerman's name came up. And once it did, everything else began to fall into place. Investigators pulled Rex's personal cell phone records. Every time a burner phone had been used to contact one of the victims, whether from Massapequa Park or from Midtown Manhattan, Rex's personal phone was pinging the same towers at the same times. Every single time. His lawyer would later call it circumstantial. The prosecutors would call it consistent. Because consistent is the right word, it was always consistent. They found fake email accounts linked to Rex, John Springfield, Thomas Hawk, Hunter 1903. These accounts were connected to the burner numbers, and through these accounts, Rex had conducted, and this is from the court documents, thousands of searches related to sex workers, sadistic torture pornography, and child pornography. He had also been searching for something else, the names of the Gilgo victims, their family members, their sisters, their children. He had been looking up where they lived. He was searching for the families of the women he is accused of killing. And while all of this was accumulating, the phone records, the fake accounts, the vehicle match, the geographic overlap, investigators also found something physical at the scene. 1 male hair, found in the burlap used to restrain and transport Megan Waterman's body. They needed a DNA sample from Rex Hoyerman. They needed one that he didn't know he was giving. So they watched him. Plainclothes officers in Midtown Manhattan, following a 6'4" architect on his daily route between job sites, watching him eat, watching him throw things away. On a particular day, Rex bought a pizza slice. He ate it. He tossed the box in a trash can on a Manhattan street corner, and investigators took it. The DNA recovered from that pizza crust was run against the profile extracted from the hair found on Megan Waterman's body, and it came back as a match. Not a partial match. A profile so specific it occurs in only 0.04% of the human population. 1 in 2,500 people on Earth share that profile. Rex Hoyerman is one of them. And his DNA was found on Megan Waterman's remains. The lead investigator, Suffolk County DA Ray Tierney, says he read the report, then read it again. Then a 3rd time. Then a 4th. And then he started making calls. There was one more detail. During the search of the crime scenes, investigators had found strands of female hair on two of the victims' bodies, hair that didn't belong to the victims. DNA testing showed that those hairs were consistent with Rex Hoyerman's wife, a woman who was completely unaware of any of this and was hundreds of miles away in Iceland when the murders occurred. The explanation, prosecutors believe, is simple and horrible. Rex had been near his wife before he went to kill. Her hair transferred to his clothing transferred it to the bodies. He was living both lives simultaneously, without a barrier between them. With the DNA, the phone records, the vehicle evidence, the fake identities, and the geographic data all pointing at one man, investigators made the decision to arrest Rex Hoyerman. And the deciding factor wasn't the strength of the case, it was his behavior. Because while they were watching him, while they were quietly building a case that had taken a decade to assemble, Rex Hoyerman was on his burner phone, contacting another escort. When we decided to take down the case, we saw him contacting a number of sex workers using a burner phone, which obviously is concerning. They couldn't wait any longer. July 2023. 13 years after the first remains were found at Gilgo Beach, plainclothes officers arrested Rex Hoyerman around the corner from his architectural consulting office in Midtown Manhattan. He had no idea they were coming. Investigators believe he had been watching the case. He had searched for news coverage obsessively, had looked up the task force members, but he did not know how close they were. He thought he was safe. He was not safe. Suffolk County Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison stood before the cameras and said, "Rex Hoyerman is a demon that walks among us, a predator that ruined families." Hoyerman was charged with the murders of Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello. He is the prime suspect in the death of Maureen Brainerd Barnes. He pleaded not guilty. His attorney, through tears, said his client told him, "I didn't do this." While the investigation had been circling Rex Hoyerman for years, his wife and children knew nothing. Ace Hoyerman, born in Iceland, married to Rex for over 25 years, had been taking summer trips home with her children since the early 2000s. Those trips, police believe, are when Rex killed. When the arrest was made, Ace was blindsided. Her attorney says she is surviving minute by minute. She filed for divorce. She is battling cancer. Rex was the sole provider for the family. Without him, she has no income, no health insurance, and a home that was searched for 12 days by investigators and left, in her attorney's description, excessively damaged. Carrie Rawson, the daughter of Dennis Rader, the BTK killer, reached out to Ace. So did Melissa Moore, the daughter of the Happy Face killer. Women who know exactly what it means to learn, without warning, that the man sleeping beside you was something else entirely. Ace and her kids are also victims. This is the part of the story that most crime coverage skips past. The victims aren't only the people who were killed. There are other rings of damage, children who will grow up with this name, a wife who lost everything twice, communities that will never look at their neighbor the same way again. Police spent 12 days searching Rex Hoyerman's home in Massapequa Park. They removed nearly 300 firearms from a vault in the basement. They dug in the backyard. When a reporter asked whether the search had been fruitful, the lead investigator answered with one word: "Yes." He declined to elaborate. They also recovered the Chevrolet Avalanche. It had been sitting on a property Rex owned in South Carolina. It was seized and sent for forensic analysis. Rex Hoyerman is currently awaiting trial, locked inside a 60-square-foot cell in a Suffolk County jail. He has maintained his innocence. Rex Hoyerman has been charged in connection with the Gilgo 4. But remember, 10 people were found along Ocean Parkway. And Rex has not been connected to the other 6. The toddler girl, her mother, Peaches, the Asian man in women's clothing, Jessica Taylor, Valerie Mack, Karen Vergara. Who killed them? Is it Rex, with victims police haven't yet been able to link to him? Or is there another killer, someone who has never been named, who used the same stretch of highway as a burial ground without even knowing Rex Heuermann existed? Investigators have expanded their search to Las Vegas and South Carolina, where Rex owns property, taking a fresh look at cold cases involving missing women in both locations. The question of how many victims there may be, in total, remains open. And then, there is Shannon. Shannon Gilbert's remains were found in December 2011, about a year after the search for her began. She was found in a marsh not far from Gilgo Beach, about a mile from the neighborhood where she had been running and knocking on doors. Official investigators concluded that Shannon's death was an accident. They believe she was in a panicked, drug-affected state that night, ran into the marsh, and drowned. Shannon's family does not believe that. Her attorney does not believe that. And the 911 call, which you can still listen to, makes it difficult to close the case in your mind. Her sister Cherry put it plainly, back in 2011. If my sister didn't make that 911 call, I don't think those other women would have been recovered either. She's right. Shannon Gilbert's terrified phone call, made in the dark, running from something she could feel but couldn't name, is the reason 4 families eventually got any answers at all. It is the reason Rex Heuermann was ever found. But what Shannon herself was running from that night, what caused her to flee a client's home in a state of complete terror, what she meant when she screamed, "These people are trying to kill me," has never been established to any family's satisfaction. There is a local legend that says Gilgo Beach was named after a fisherman called Gil, a skilled man who knew these waters intimately, who used them as his secret hunting ground, decade after decade, long after anyone else had given up on that stretch of shore. Whether that legend is true or not, the name fits now for different reasons. A hunter worked here. He was patient, methodical, and invisible. He went to work in the morning and came home at night. He talked about building permits on YouTube. He asked his wife to bring back sweaters from Iceland. And somewhere in the stretch between those two versions of himself, the ordinary man and the thing underneath, 4 young women lost their lives. Rex Heuermann sits in a 60-square-foot cell and says he didn't do this. The families of Maureen, Melissa, Megan, and Amber have waited 13 years for someone to be held responsible. And somewhere, in an unresolved marsh not far from here, Shannon Gilbert's story still doesn't have an ending that anyone is satisfied with. The beach is still there. The questions are still there. And if investigators are right, there may be more victims whose names we don't know yet.